Hi everybody, welcome back to Wagon 84 here at Donegal Railway Heritage Centre. We're back here working on the Pedigree layout and we're going to have a look at this section here. So the plan for this section here is we're going to put a rock face along here, perhaps a slight hill as well, and blend it all in. I think in this area here I'm going to put a church and create a churchyard just for a bit of scenic interest. So let's get cracking with it. So as you can see here, I've cut some of the Celotex insulation board, put it around. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover this with some plaster cloth. And then I'm going to use the Woodland Scenic Moulds where I've produced some of these rocks, different shapes and sizes. And then I'll stick them on there, fill in between with some plaster, and then paint it up. So let's get started. That's the first layer of plaster cloth on now. I'm only going to do one layer because I will be going over it with plaster and the stones and everything. It's really just there as a support and to enable the Woodland Scenic rocks and plaster to stick to. So I'll let that dry for 24 hours and then I'll come back. I'll have to do something here because obviously it goes into a corner, so this is where I'm going to put sort of a little bit of a hillside in here just to blend it all in, make it look a bit more realistic. So yeah, leave that to dry, come back in 24 hours and then we'll start putting the stones on. It's been a couple of days now. The plaster's gone nice and solid. So this is just a base for sticking these Woodland Scenics cast stones onto. So we're going to take all these stones, rocks, and we're going to stick them on. We're going to use a hot glue gun to stick them on. It's a quick and easy way of doing it. You can just get some plaster and stick them on using plaster or PVA. But with the hot glue gun, it's instant, it's done, it's a lot quicker. So I'm going to start taking some of these, stick them on in a random pattern, and then we'll see how it looks. That's all the Woodland Scenic rocks stuck on now. So I haven't gone right into the corner here. So what I'm going to do is now is I'm going to create a hillside here just to take that sort of a natural 90-degree bend out. And then I've stuck some rocks around here. So I'm going to make the hillside. It's going to be the same way as I've done it previously. So some scrunched up paper and then just lay plaster cloth over the top of it. Leave it to dry for 24 hours. Then I can come back and then do the rest of the work on this, filling it all in. That's the little hillside completed there. I'm going to let this dry 24 hours. I'm going to go over it with another layer of plaster bandage. And then we can come back and then we can fill in between all the rocks with some plaster just to finish it off. And paint over the top surfaces with a plaster wash just to make sure everything's filled in and smooth. So like the other side, brown wood there is going to be a shelf for displaying items. So along the top here I'll just have some static grass. And then I'll have all the rocks painted with bushes and flowers and all sorts of things coming out of them. And then probably some rocks and grass on the hillside here and coming around then to the tunnel mouth. So let this dry and come back and we'll carry on with the next step. There's another layer of plaster cloth on the hillside. I've also gone over it with a plaster wash to fill in any holes. I've gone along the top edges as well. So what remains to be done now is to fill in all the gaps between the stones here, make it look a little bit more realistic. As always, put something down to protect any track work or scenic work you've already done. So we'll get started on that now. So we're going to start filling in now between the rocks. What I've got here is a mixture of plaster. Now this can be anything, polyfiller, anything like that, household plaster, whatever you want. And you want to mix it up so it's quite stodgy, I would say is the word we'd use here. So it's quite thick, almost starting to go off. And then you can quite simply, using a spatula, just putting it on. And you want to work and do small areas at a time because it will start to dry and cure quickly. And just work your way around on the gaps, pushing it into the crevices. And just filling all the spaces in between the stones so it all becomes more of a natural fill. I say do small sections at a time using a knife. You can even use your hands if you want. Just be careful that plaster can't be caustic on your hands. You might have to use gloves, rubber gloves. And when it's on like that, get an old screwdriver, shaping tool or something, and you just want to rough it up, put some scratches in it, and then leave it to dry. So I'm going to carry on, do the rest of this now, and I'll come back and show you when it's done. So there's all the gaps filled in around the Woodland Scenic Moulds. It looks a bit rough and ready at the moment, but we'll let it dry for a good 24 hours, see how it looks. Might have to clean off some parts of it, maybe put another layer of plaster on in places, but that's pretty much it done now. So the next step would be to paint it, and that's what we'll be looking at in the next video. So that's where we're leaving it this week, with the moulds there. We'll leave them drying. Next week when we come back, we'll have a look at painting the rocks and detailing them. So don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.